February 28, 2026. The Middle East was already sliding toward open conflict, but nobody knew that the point of no return would come in the dead of night. Inside a heavily guarded compound in Tehran. Inside the compound, 86-year-old Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was meeting with his senior military advisors to plan their next move. But far above the region, long-range aircraft and precision missile systems were already in motion. The missile climbed high above the atmosphere, then plunged back toward Tehran at terrifying speed. Iranian air defenses had only seconds to react. A powerful explosion ripped through the compound, destroying several buildings and killing the officials inside. Among them was Ali Khamenei. And in that moment, the course of history changed forever. To understand why the strike was ordered, you have to rewind. This strike wasn't a random act of aggression. It was the detonation of a powder keg that had been building for decades. For years, the Iranian regime had been building a vast network of armed proxy groups across the region. They funded and armed Hezbollah, Hamas, Iraqi militias, and the Houthis. What Israeli officials called a ring of fire surrounding their borders. They even fueled Russia's war in Ukraine, supplying Moscow with thousands of suicide drones. But their ultimate goal was the bomb. The 2015 nuclear deal slowed the program down, but it left Iran's missile arsenal and proxy networks largely untouched. When the deal collapsed, Tehran accelerated its violations. The boiling point began in late 2023. According to Israeli and Western intelligence, Iran played a key role in supporting the October 7th attacks, the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. Months later, Iran launched unprecedented direct missile attacks on Israel. The Shadow War was finally out in the open. By early 2025, diplomacy had completely collapsed. Ali Khamenei rejected all talks and pushed uranium enrichment to dangerous levels. When intelligence revealed a new, hardened underground nuclear facility, the West acted. In the summer of 2025, Israel and the United States launched a series of bunker-buster strikes targeting key enrichment sites. Washington delivered one final ultimatum: abandon the nuclear program or face devastating consequences. They refused. But the regime was fighting a war on two fronts. Inside their own borders, the country was tearing itself apart. Amid economic collapse and a plunging currency, massive protests erupted across all 31 provinces. The regime responded with brutal force, killing thousands of demonstrators and arresting tens of thousands more. Cornered, isolated, and increasingly desperate. As U.S. aircraft carriers surged into the Persian Gulf, President Donald Trump delivered a final warning. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Military options remained on the table. And on the night of February 28, 2026, someone finally chose to use one. March 1st, 2026. The sun rose over a Middle East that was no longer recognizable. As the news of the strike on the Supreme Leader's compound was confirmed, the global economy didn't just stumble, it buckled. In Tokyo, London, and New York, markets suffered their largest collapse since the 2008 financial crisis.
Biggest single-day fall since 2008. And you remember?
But the real panic wasn't in the numbers. It was in the water. Within hours of the announcement, the IRGC moved to execute their ultimate economic weapon. They began mining the Strait of Hormuz. Nearly 20% of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas passes through this narrow choke point. By noon, global shipping insurance vanished. Tankers dead-stopped in the water. The world's energy lifeline was severed. But the regime wasn't just suffocating the economy, From the north, Hezbollah launched thousands of rockets in a coordinated saturation strike toward Haifa and Tel Aviv. From the south, the Houthis targeted U.S. Navy destroyers in the Red Sea with massive drone swarms. What had once been called the Ring of Fire surrounding Israel was no longer a theoretical threat. It was a reality. As the first missiles impacted civilian centers, the diplomatic lines of communication went dark. Russia and China issued a joint statement condemning what they called unprovoked Western aggression. At the same time, their naval fleets began moving into position. The Shadow War was over. The era of localized conflict was dead. Every major power was now forced to choose: retreat or escalate. And in Washington, the decision had already been made. At 11 p.m. Washington time, the orders were transmitted. The immediate nuclear threat was neutralized. But a decapitated regime doesn't mean a peaceful Middle East. History shows us that nature abhors a vacuum. And the one left in Tehran is massive. Without the IRGC's funding and command, do heavily armed proxies like Hezbollah and the Houthis collapse? Or do they go completely rogue? Inside Iran's borders, do the millions of protesters finally seize their country? Or does the surviving military establish an even more brutal dictatorship? And looking east, how long until Moscow and Beijing step in to secure the region's shattered oil supply? The 48-hour war was over, but the fight for the ashes had just begun.
The United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
When the sun finally rose on the third day, the map of the modern world had been permanently redrawn. The Shadow War was officially dead. What do you think rises from the ashes? Drop your theories down in the comments below. And if you want to follow the fallout of this global shift, make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.